Thomas says, I was surprised that Raiders beat Manly. I was and wasn't. I was in the sense that I tipped Manly and I thought the Manly would be better than they were. But I wasn't in the sense that Manly are a one-man team, and it kind of just proved a point that people were talking about for quite a long time. It proved a point that the beginning half of the season isn't necessarily an anomaly with Manly. Oh, what are the Rabbitohs doing there? Jeez. It's really odd. They're really odd there, what the Rabbitohs are doing. But it just proves that Manly at the beginning of this year wasn't an anomaly, and it's kind of nerve-wracking for them going forward, because if they have a Trbojevic injury from an origin or something of the likes, that they might be screwed going long-term. Having Mode says, yeah, I tipped Manly as well. I think everyone tipped Manly. I think they just didn't believe that Manly would be that bad without Trbojevic, but they ended up doing it. Squidard says, we seen at the start of this season how much Tom Turbo being not available hurt them, and yesterday we saw it again. Well, that's what I'm saying. It showed that the beginning of the season wasn't an anomaly. We all know that Tom Trbojevic obviously came back and they started going bang and they had that ambush. And of course, it had to be the Titans that experienced that first game with Tom Trbojevic coming back. But in the same sense, and I was at that game, Munchie. But in the same sense, yeah, it was definitely something that I believe could have just been a kind of one-off little instance, but it ended up not being. Levi Horgan says, Warriors to make the grand final. Mate, why don't you just focus on winning your game this weekend against the Sharks before you start thinking about bloody grand final, because you guys are nowhere near the 8 right now. You desperately need to win that game. Jamie Roberts says, Raiders deserve some credit. Okay, well, what about the week beforehand when they lost 44-6 to the Titans, the same team that were up 24-10 against you guys, 24-8 against you guys at halftime, and then you scored 48 points in the second half. So, yeah, look, it's all good to say Raiders deserve some credits. That's cool, but the Titans beat them 44-6 with the exact same team the week beforehand. And sorry, that was with Jack Whiten too. And Jack Whiten obviously wasn't playing for the Raiders yesterday. So, riddle me that. I've seen your comment. They had an excellent kicking game and Manly had about 7 dropouts, and not just Tommy, but DCE and Schuster out. But I've said all year without a specialist nine we suffer. Absolutely. I'm not having a go at you there. I'm just saying that the Titans, a full team on a full team, beat the Raiders 44-6. The week after, the Raiders, after getting beaten 44-6, have no Jack Whiten, and they go up against Manly. Yes, obviously no Trbojevic. Yes, no Cherry Evans. Yes, no Schuster. But there's no way they should be convincingly winning that game in such a convincing manner. I guess it was close in the end. Manly did kind of bring it back, but the Raiders won it, by 10 points in the end? What was the score? In the same sense, yeah, Raiders do deserve the credit for winning that game. But I'm just saying, let's also put into perspective how much of a bad loss that actually is as well. It does prove that the beginning of the season for Manly was not an anomaly. They need Trbojevic, and they need Trbojevic to do well. And yes, Cherry Evans is there. Yes, Schuster is there. But I'm just saying, Trbojevic wasn't there at the beginning of the year, and they looked exactly like the team last night. Probably worse. Last night was still better than probably the beginning of the year, but in the same sense, let's also talk about, buddy. Let's talk about the Raiders getting pumped the week beforehand. Paige says, Manly missed DC more last night than Tom. Disagree. Why? Because Tom is a mental assistance. Not mental health. That's not the right words. I think that, yeah, look, Cherry Evans' direction wasn't there, but in the same sense, you just could tell Manly didn't have the belief last night. You could just tell that Manly didn't believe they could win from the outset. I never thought Garrick was confident. I never thought that entire team was confident. And Cherry Evans was there at the beginning of the year, and they were still like that, where they didn't really necessarily believe they could win. You go and have a look now, and because of that mindset, I really don't think that they could have won. Because I don't. If you're thinking that you can't win, and you go into that game thinking you can't win, you're not going to win. If you go into a game thinking you're going to win and believe you're going to win, you have a really good chance of winning because you're confident in yourselves and you're going to do what you did against the Titans when you absolutely flogged the Titans. That was the first week back with Tommy Trbojevic. It was just unfortunately my team that had to experience that. But I disagree. I think that you're trying to underplay. I'm not insulting you here. I'm just replying. I think you are trying to underplay the effect of Tommy Trbojevic, or you're not understanding the mental effect of Tom Trbojevic. Yes, Cherry Evans' lack of direction not being there. But I absolutely would say that the lack of Tom Trbojevic mental effect would be the significant cause of me not believing Manly could win from the first minute of that game. Paige said, I just think they missed Cherry's leadership, direction, composure, and kicking game. They missed the other boys too, but I think they don't make those silly errors if DCE is there. Yes, but like I said, I could see in the first minute last night. I literally saw the first minute of that game last night, and I thought, I don't think Manly's up for this. I didn't think Manly was up for it. So, yes, okay, Cherry Evans could be an impact there. But I think if Cherry Evans plays last night, you probably still lose. I do. I believe it. I believe you still lose. And this is something that Manly's going to have to get over. they're going to have to get over this mentally and realise we can't be a one-man team. Because if Trbojevic has a bad game or has a game that he gets nullified in, i.e. the Knights game, yeah, look, Manly fans can talk about their 9-0 penalty count all they want. I don't care. That game, the Knights were actually pretty decent in regards to grinding that game out. But I also understand the inconsistencies in regards to a 9-0 penalty count, and I understand why you complain about it. But the point of the matter is that if Trbojevic gets nullified, that team is dust. And that's why I keep saying to everyone, I think Manly's a good team. I think Manly deserves all this applause and credit, but I do think that there is massive flaws in this team that people aren't talking about because they want to believe that Manly are going to be this kind of miracle from last to first kind of shit. I think they want them desperately to be this team that comes out of nowhere and surprises the Panthers and the Storm, because that first half against the Titans did happen. That Knights game did happen. Last night did happen, and these are showing the flaws in this Manly team. So there's still a long way to come for Manly. I do think they're still a quality team. I still don't think they win the grand final. I still don't think they're a grand final contender. I definitely think they make the preliminary final based on what I've seen. But in the same sense, it's 50-50 between them and the Parramatta Eels to make that prelim alongside the Panthers, the Storm, and the Rabbitohs for mine. I think the Panthers, Storm, and the Rabbitohs are guaranteed preliminary final, as guaranteed as you can possibly get. And then I think it's between Manly and Parramatta to make that fourth spot, personally. Pages can't win them all, absolutely. But at least you're not coming in here telling me that Manly needed that loss. Because we've had Sharks fans come in here telling me that the Sharks needed that loss against the Broncos. And I'm just like, no, the Broncos are second last. You don't need that loss. You never want that loss. It's not a positive loss. It never was a positive loss. You can't look at it as a positive. It was horrific. It was a horrific loss to the second last place team. So at least you're not coming in here, Paddy G, and saying Manly needed that loss to win the comp, because it'd be ridiculous if you did. And it is annoying. It is annoying when people can't really see their team for what they really are. And at least, you're right, that you can't win them all. But it also is an extra showing. The beginning half of the season was an anomaly. The Titans half did happen. The Raiders game did happen. The Knights game did happen. And people need to start looking at this Manly team as not a perfect outfit yet. And they have a long way to come before they are going to be competing with those Panthers and the Storm. And they haven't even played the Rabbitohs yet. Actually, they played the Rabbitohs. I think the Rabbitohs won convincingly, but that was the beginning of the year. The end of the year, we'll see how it goes. Raiders didn't score till the 20th minute, but I'll just shut up because we lose and we can continue the Cody Walker Mark class. Yeah, but I'm not arguing with you. It's just a conversation. It's just a conversation. But in the same sense, from Manly fans, from an outsider's perspective, they seem to, I'm not saying you necessarily, but I guess you would be, in the sense that Manly fans seem to ignore all the negatives in their game and only see the positives because of the fantastic run they went on after Trbojevic came back. And then as soon as Trbojevic is gone, mind you, as soon as he's gone, it happens all over again. And they look just as bad. Not just as bad, but they didn't look great last night at all. And I don't care who won the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes, they still got pumped. They still lost by 14 points. It was closer than the 14 points margin suggested, but they still lost by 14 points. So the fact of the matter is that there's proof in the score.